Boom. Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to give you an overview of the Buffalo SUNY BDS Mask Off Moog campaign, which we just launched in February. We made our first announcement at the Palestine Solidarity March, and we released our social media that week and sent out press conferences or excuse me, a press release and so forth. So Mask Off Moog is calling for them to be kicked off of our campus, University at Buffalo. And we are proudly not affiliated with SUNY or New York State or UB, so don't get it confused.
So yeah, for those of you who don't know, Moog is a large engineering firm headquartered in Elma, New York. They're primarily known for manufacturing aircraft and motion control components. They're very deeply ingrained in the Western New York region. They tried to put on this public image of being caretakers, and they've gotten themselves involved in institutions like UB, the AKG Art Museum, Evergreen Health. I know they're big funders for the Pride Parade, and they just try and make themselves appear as progressive as they possibly can, putting down these roots in all of our public institutions.
And despite this positive image they tried to spin, they have a much more sinister business model. And they don't they do talk about they build airplanes and they don't it's pretty public though. If you go to their website, I think there's an F-35 right on the front page, and they manufacture weapons. That is their main source of income. And these weapons are used by Israel against Palestine, against Iran, against Lebanon, so they are producing part of the parts, and with partnership with Lockheed Martin, the largest weapons manufacturer in the world by revenue. And they not only produce the parts for the F-35, but the M46 fighter jets. And without Moog, they, provide these crucial parts, the jets would not function.
So yeah, the Moog jets have been used to commit war crimes time and time again in Palestine and also, as we mentioned, in Iran, Lebanon. They've murdered countless people, at least 70,000, but likely a lot more. And the bombings just continue to keep coming, even though they claim there's a ceasefire, and we have to take a stand and do what we can to oppose the production of weapons here in Buffalo.
And our the central in well, excuse me, central to furthering these interests, okay? Moog is deeply ingrained in the University at Buffalo. The University of Buffalo has a huge engineering department. Our current president, who's been president for 15 years, Tripathi, he's going to be retiring, but for 15 years, he's put the interests of the engineering department and the engineering school before anything. So, of course, I'm not sure exactly when he was appointed, but the CEO, Pat Roche of Moog, sits on the UB Council, which is the council that acts as the consultant to the UB president and helps guide major activities of the university. And there's not a lot of people on the UB Council. And the president of the UB Council is Jeremy Jacobs. So you all know who he is, that another um you know uh he's making money off of ICE contracts and so forth. So this Moog being involved so heavily and from the top in UB, it collaborates with UB on research projects, designs programs, donates funds to create new professorships, and more. If you do a search on the UB main website, you get hundreds of hits for Moog because they're involved in many, many levels.
Yeah, they're actually so involved that there's even a special professor title called the Moog Professor of Innovation that was created to give distinction to teachers who pretty much just push their agenda and train students, except the students are paying for their training
Yeah.
instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
But yeah, the connection is clear that Moog is exploiting genocide and they're profiting very, very much off of it. And by pushing their agenda through our university, they're forcing us to be a part of this. And I'm sure that as community members, as faculty and staff, and as students, we all don't want to be a part of this. We don't want our tax dollars going to it. We don't want our students learning and training to be a part of it. We don't want any part of it whatsoever. You can see that their profits have doubled, more than doubled actually, since October of 2023.
So as our campaign has four demands, and the first one is to remove Pat Roche from the UB Council. Our second is to that UB disclose all the existing and previous ties with Moog, its subsidiaries, and other, including partnerships, investments, research, and collaborations, and then end these. Once we find out, once they're disclosed, we're calling for them to end these ties with Moog. And then number four, to redirect UB's mission and their energy and their, you know, uh, resources toward meeting the material needs of students, workers, and community members, such as addressing the food and housing insecurity among students and workers, because we have a food pantry on every single SUNY campus, including the University at Buffalo. And housing on campus is atrocious, and the university makes money off of the food and the housing that they provide, that they offer to students. So they could cut back on making money, but they decide they need to make money off the students. We also are calling for the expanding university provided physical and mental health services, which are lacking on the campus. Right now, North Campus's student health facility is off campus. They have to take a shuttle. They moved it off campus and they have to take a shuttle to get to any kind of medical help. We're calling for improved accessibility and transportation on campus, which has lots of problems in that area, especially in the winter, and also expanding university provided child care and elder care services, which are extremely lacking on all the campuses.
And so yeah, this matters to you because you are a member of this community, whether you're just a taxpayer in New York State or if you're involved in the university, which means you should be able to decide how our school operates. We need your help because the more people that we have involved, the more we're going to be able to push this campaign. Obviously, Moog and UB have a substantial amount of resources, and in comparison to us, it is a very large disparity. They are going to try and shut us down, but we have something they don't, and that is power in numbers.
So the ways you can support as an organization is your organization could sign and share our petition, and we're going to have the link to that in a minute. You could add you could share it, and then you could add your organization to the petition. You could join our email list, or you could join as a coalition organization.
And then if you wanted to get involved as an individual, as opposed to an organization, you could also just sign and share the petition with anyone you know. You could become a member of Buffalo SUNY BDS, which we are very much in the active recruitment phase. We've just lost a bunch of people. So yeah, if you are interested, definitely let us know. We would love to have you. And then also following our Instagram where we will be posting more actions, updates, and events.
Uh, the last slide I'm gonna go is our petition, our Instagram, and the sources that we've used for this presentation. So I guess I'll go back. Well, I'll leave that there. Are there any questions?